The noodles were getting cold. So was my patience. $43.50, I said. Pork broth. Extra egg. Pay up, please. The man at the gate, big guy, neck like a refrigerator, arms crossed over a chest the size of my scooter, didn't move. Behind him, 2 more guards leaned against the stone pillars, smirking like they'd just been told a joke they were too stupid to understand. Fridgeneck looked at the food bag in my hand. Then at me. Then at the food bag again. Yeah, he said slowly. We're not paying. I blinked. Sorry? We're not paying. Consider it a donation. You can go now. He waved his hand like he was shooing away a stray cat. Take it up with customer service. There is no customer service. I'm the customer service. I'm the delivery, and the person who's about to be very annoyed. Not my problem, pretty little Omega. There it was. Pretty little Omega. The phrase that followed me everywhere. Restaurants. Grocery stores. Delivery gates at 9 p.m. when I'd been working for 12 hours straight and my back hurt and my patience was a threadbare rope about to snap. I took a breath. Okay. I've had a really long day. Traffic was a nightmare. Some guy in a Honda called me a slur. My last customer tipped me in nickels. Actual nickels. I don't have the energy for this. So I'm going to ask one more time very nicely. I held out my hand. $43.50. Fridgeneck leaned in close. Close enough that I could smell his cologne. Awful. Like a pine tree had been murdered and bottled. Take it up with someone who cares, he said. Now get lost before we make you. I closed my eyes. Counted to 3. Grandfather always said patience was a martial art too. The hardest one. Then I opened my eyes and set the food bag down carefully on the ground. Fine, I said, you asked for it. Fridgeneck grinned. That's more like it. I hit him first. Not hard. Just enough. The heel of my palm to his chin, snapping his head back. He staggered. I followed. Wrist lock. Twist. He hit the ground with a sound like a sack of potatoes falling off a truck. The second guard came at me swinging. Sloppy. What? I ducked under his arm, hooked his ankle, swept his leg. He went down hard on his back, wheezing. The third guard looked at his friends on the ground. Looked at me. Raised his hands. I didn't do anything, he said. You called me pretty little Omega. I didn't say it out loud. You thought it. That's not a crime. It is today. I kicked his legs out from under him. He collapsed in a heap next to Fridgeneck. 11 seconds. Maybe 12. I was getting slow. I looked down at the 3 of them groaning on the pavement. Then I did the most reasonable thing I could think of. I sat down on Fridgeneck's back, crossed my legs like we were at a picnic, and started going through his pockets. What are you doing? He wheezed. Collecting my money plus tip. Plus emotional damages and a convenience fee. Plus, I pulled out a wad of cash. Oh, this is more than I expected. Generous of you. You can't. I just did. I stood up, pocketed the money, and picked up the food bag. Since you didn't pay, the food stays with me. I'm eating these noodles. They're probably cold now, but cold noodles taste better when they're free. I walked back to my scooter. The third guard called out behind me. You're insane. I looked over my shoulder. Insane would be not paying a delivery rider who clearly knows 6 ways to break your arm. I'm just practical. I got on my scooter and drove away. And definitely ate those noodles when I got home. 3 miles away, in an office full of dark wood and dim lighting, Viktor Volkov was watching the CCTV feed. He'd been reviewing shipment logs when Dmitri interrupted. Sir, there's an incident at the gate. You'll want to see this. Viktor expected a breach. An attack. The Dragunov family making a move. He did not expect a silver-haired Omega in a cropped jacket to dismantle 3 of his best guards in under 12 seconds. He did not expect that Omega to then sit on one of them like a park bench and casually rifle through his pockets. He did not expect to watch him stand up, count the money with visible satisfaction, and drive away on a scooter while eating noodles from a takeout container. Viktor stared at the frozen screen. The Omega's face was caught mid-bite. Cheeks puffed. Utterly unbothered. Play it again, Viktor said. Dmitri blinked. Sir? The footage? From the beginning. Dmitri played it again. All 3 angles. Viktor watched every frame. The wrist lock. The sweep. The kick. The way the Omega set the food down before the fight. Careful, deliberate, like it mattered. That's not street fighting, Viktor said. That's training. Real training. Military? No. Something else. Traditional. You can see it in his footwork. He pointed at the screen. Jiu-Jitsu foundation. Maybe Aikido. The elbow strike was Muay Thai. You can identify martial arts by watching a 12-second fight? I can identify talent. And that, he tapped the screen, is talent. Dmitri waited. Orders. Viktor leaned back. The Omega had driven off into the night with stolen money and cold noodles like he didn't have a care in the world. Like he hadn't just humiliated 3 of Viktor's men. Like he was untouchable. Find out who he is. Where he lives. Where he works. And then? Viktor picked up his whiskey. Took a slow sip. Then bring him here. I want to meet the man who treats my guards like furniture. They found me outside a ramen shop just a day later. These mafia guys are nuts. I was picking up an order. Double pork, extra egg, no green onions because the customer was a heathen. When a black car pulled up beside my scooter. Not a regular black car. The kind that whispers I cost more than your education and the man inside has never waited in a line. 2 men stepped out. Suits. Ties. Expressions like carved stone. Asher? The taller one said. Depends who's asking. If it's the guy who ordered the pork buns, I'm running late. Traffic. You know how it is. We're not here about pork buns. I adjusted my helmet. Then what are you here about? Because I have 3 more deliveries and a rating that's already suffering. We represent Mr. Viktor Volkov. He'd like to speak with you. I paused. Volkov. The name tickled something in the back of my brain. A news article. A headline. Something about organized crime and an empire and a man who once made a senator cry just by looking at him. Then it clicked. The estate. The gate. Fridgeneck and his 2 idiots. The noodles. Oh, I said. This is about the gate incident? The gate incident? Where I beat up those 3 guys. Look, they started it. I gave them multiple chances to pay. They called me Pretty Little Omega. Multiple times. It's not my fault that they disrespected and tried to bully me. They had it coming. The 2 men exchanged a glance. The kind of glance that said we've been doing this job for years and this is a new one. Mr. Volkov still wants to speak with you. Is this one of those invitations where I have a choice? No. Great. Love honesty. I took off my helmet and hung it on the scooter's handlebar. Fine. But someone needs to watch my bike. And if anything happens to it, I'm adding property damage to whatever bill you people end up with. The Volkov estate was even more intimidating in daylight. I'd only seen it at night, lit by gate lamps and the headlight of my scooter. In the sun it was worse. Massive. Stone. Windows like empty eyes. Everything about it screamed old money and older secrets, and if you touch the curtains you will be escorted out. The guards led me through hallways lined with paintings and chandeliers. Our footsteps echoed on marble. No one spoke. No one looked at me. It was like being walked through a museum where the exhibits were silently judging my outfit. Finally a door. Massive oak. Carved with something that looked like a family crest. Very dramatic. Very I'm important and I need you to know it. He's expecting you, the taller guard said. He doesn't know me well enough to expect me. He's anticipating me. There's a difference. The guard didn't respond. I pushed open the door. The office was exactly what I'd pictured. Dark wood. Leather chairs. Bookshelves full of volumes that had never been opened. A fireplace that probably cost more than my apartment building. And behind a desk the size of a small country, a man who looked like he'd been carved out of ice. Viktor Volkov. Early 30s. Sharp jaw. Dark hair swept back from a face that had forgotten how to smile. Eyes the color of a winter sky. He wore a suit that fit him like it had been sewn directly onto his body. He didn't stand when I entered. He just watched me. I walked to the center of the room and stopped. Nice place, I said. Very intimidating. The dark wood. The fireplace. The silent staring. Do you practice the stare in the mirror or is it natural? Silence. 10 seconds of it. His expression didn't change. You beat 3 of my men, he said. His voice was low. Controlled. Russian accent curling around the edges. They refused to pay for their food. I gave them chances. They chose violence. Violence chose me back. You sat on one of them. He was comfortable. Well, not for him. For me. He was very comfortable for me. You went through their pockets. I collected what I was owed. I'm an entrepreneur. Another pause. Viktor leaned back in his chair. His eyes never left mine. It was unsettling and flattering and annoying all at once. Where did you learn to fight? My grandfather's dojo. I've been training since I could walk. And now you deliver food. Now I deliver food. The dojo closed after my grandfather died. Rent in this city is obscene, and martial arts instruction doesn't pay unless you're teaching celebrities or training people for underground fights. I crossed my arms. Are we going to do this for much longer? Because I have deliveries. You have deliveries for a job that pays minimum wage and exposes you to men who call you pretty little Omega. They don't call me that twice. Something flickered in his eyes. Not quite amusement. The cousin of amusement. No. I don't imagine they do. He stood. Walked around the desk. He was taller than I expected. Broader. The kind of man who filled a room without trying. I have a proposition for you. Train my men. They're sloppy. The gate incident proved it. He stopped a few feet away. Name your price. I opened my mouth. Fully prepared to negotiate. Dojo funding. A sponsorship. A nice sign with my name on it. Then I stopped. Because something clicked. This man was Mafia. Mafia meant resources. Connections. People who could find things. Things like a stolen ledger. Things like a killer. I closed my mouth. Opened it again. Actually, I said. I don't want your money. What do you want? I met his eyes. 6 months ago, someone broke into my grandfather's dojo. He stole a ledger, my grandfather's personal records. And he murdered the only family I had. The room went quieter. The kind of quiet that had weight. I walked in during the attack. I tried to stop him. He was wearing a mask. I couldn't see his face. But I saw this. I touched the right side of my neck. A serpent coiled around a dagger. Viktor's expression didn't change. But something behind his eyes went very, very still. He glanced at the man beside the door, Dmitri, his second in command, who had been silent this whole time. They exchanged a look I couldn't read. Describe it again, Viktor said. Serpent. Dagger. Right side of the neck. Black ink. The serpent's tail wraps around the blade. Why? Viktor walked back to his desk. Opened a drawer. Pulled out a file. Slid a photograph across the polished wood toward me. Is this the tattoo? I looked down. The air left my lungs. It was exactly the tattoo. Every detail. Every scale on the serpent. Every curve of the dagger. The image that had been burned into my memory for 6 months, the last thing I saw before my grandfather's killer disappeared into the dark. My voice came out steady. Barely. Who is this? Adrian Dragunov. Head of the Dragunov family. My enemy for 10 years. Viktor sat down. It seems our interests are aligned. I couldn't stop staring at the photo. The face attached to the tattoo was handsome in a sharp, cruel way. Smiling. Like he'd been mid-laugh when the picture was taken. Like murder was funny to him. Adrian Dragunov, I said. The name tasted like ash. You want revenge? I want him eliminated. You train my men. I use every resource I have to find him and get your ledger back. Viktor steepled his fingers. That's the deal. And when we find him, you'll get your chance. But we do this my way. Strategic and planned. Not emotional. I looked up from the photo. I'm not emotional. I'm patient. There's a difference. Is there? I've been waiting 6 months. I can wait a little longer. I slid the photo back toward him. I have conditions. Name them. I live here. You want me to train your men? I'm not commuting across the city every day. I get my own room. With a lock. I get access to the kitchen whenever I want. And if anyone calls me pretty little Omega, I get to break their fingers. 1 finger per insult? We'll start with 1 and escalate as needed. And if I call you that? You won't. How do you know? Because you're smart. And you don't seem like the type to insult people, you're way above that. He almost smiled. Almost. I could see it fighting at the corner of his mouth, losing the battle. Anything else? Yeah. When this is over, when Dragunov is dealt with and I have my grandfather's ledger back, you fund my dojo. Full sponsorship. I pick the location. I pick the name. Your logo can be on the wall if you want, I don't care. But I own it. You want me to invest in your business. I want you to invest in me. There's a difference. Viktor studied me for a long moment. Then he extended his hand. Deal. I shook it. His grip was firm. Cold. Controlled. One more thing, he said, still holding my hand. What? You'll follow my rules while you're here. Training schedule. Security protocols. And when it's time to move against Dragunov, you follow my lead. No solo missions. No revenge impulses. Agreed. Agreed. But you have to follow one of my rules too. And what's that? I squeezed his hand once before letting go. Stop eating sad breakfast. I saw your kitchen on the way in. It's tragic. Tomorrow morning I'm cooking. Be there. I turned and walked out before he could respond. Behind me I heard Dmitri say something quietly. And then, I was almost sure, the low, surprised sound of Viktor Volkov laughing. I moved in the next day. 3 bags. 1 box. My entire life packed into what fit on the back of my scooter. Clothes mostly, cropped jackets, fitted pants, exactly 1 pair of sensible shoes I refused to wear. My grandfather's photograph wrapped in a scarf. A stack of martial arts manuals he'd written by hand, the ink faded but still legible. That was it. 6 months since his death, and this was everything I had left. Dmitri met me at the gate. He looked at my bags. Looked at my scooter. Looked at me. That's all? I'm a minimalist. You're a minimalist with a lot of jackets. Fashion doesn't take up much space. It's efficient. He didn't respond, but I caught the corner of his mouth twitching. 2 days and I'd already almost made him smile twice. I was winning. The room they gave me was bigger than my entire apartment. High ceilings. Tall windows overlooking a garden I didn't know existed. A bed that looked like it had never known the suffering of a second-hand mattress. Private bathroom. Walk-in closet that was currently bigger than my ambitions. I set my grandfather's photo on the nightstand. Traced the edge of the frame with my thumb. He was smiling in the picture. White GI, black belt, arms crossed. The smile said, I know something you don't. He always did. I found him, I said quietly. The man with the tattoo. His name is Adrian Dragunov. And I'm going to get your ledger back. I promise. The photograph said nothing. But I felt him in the room anyway. Training started the next morning. The estate had a private gym. State of the art. Mats that probably cost more than my scooter. Hanging bags, weight racks, mirrors along one wall. And standing in the middle of it, looking various degrees of uncomfortable, were 12 of Viktor's men. Including Frijnek, whose real name I'd learned was Boris. I walked in wearing fitted joggers and a sleeveless hoodie, my silver earrings catching the light. I'd made coffee first. Viktor's espresso machine was a religious experience. Good morning, I said, setting my cup down. My name is Asher. Some of you know me. Some of you were unconscious for our introduction. I looked at Boris. How's the wrist? Still sore. Good. Pain is educational. I turned to the group. Here's what's happening. Your boss thinks you fight like drunk toddlers. I watched the footage. He's being generous. I'm here to fix that. A man near the back raised his hand. Broad-shouldered. Late 20s. A scar through his eyebrow that looked like it had a story. You're an Omega, he said. Brilliant observation. What's your name? Alexei. All right, Alexei. Come here. He stepped forward. Big guy. Confident. He'd been in real fights, not just gym sparring. I could tell by his stance. But stance isn't skill. My grandfather taught me the difference. Try to hit me, I said. What? You think I'm small and I can't teach you anything? Prove it. Hit me. He hesitated. Then swung. I didn't block. I moved. Half-stepped to the side, caught his arm, used his momentum. He hit the mat with a sound that echoed off the mirrors. I had his wrist locked before he finished exhaling. That, I said, is Aikido. It uses your opponent's energy against them. You're twice my size and I barely moved. I released him. Still think Omegas can't teach you anything? He stared up at me. Something shifted in his face. Not anger. Respect. No, he said. Good. You're my demonstration partner. Get up. He got up. And for the first time since I walked in, he was almost smiling. The session ran 2 hours. I pushed them hard. Footwork drills. Basic locks. Balance exercises. Most of them had never been formally trained. They'd learned to fight in the field, which meant bad habits and worse stances. Boris flinched every time I made eye contact. Alexei improved rapidly, the kind of natural talent that made me jealous. Dmitri watched from the doorway, arms crossed, saying nothing. Afterward, as the men filed out, Boris lingered. Sir, he said. I'm not sir. I'm Asher. Asher. I wanted to apologize. For what I said. I toweled off my face. You mean when you called me pretty little Omega? He winced. Yes. Are you apologizing because you mean it or because I sat on you? Both. I laughed. Fair enough. Apology accepted. But call me that again and I break your other wrist. There's nothing wrong with my other wrist. There could be. He left quickly. I like Boris. He was an idiot, but he was a teachable idiot. That evening, Viktor summoned me to his office. I arrived still in training clothes, hair damp, a protein shake in hand because his kitchen staff had insisted on making me one. They liked me. I'd complimented their soup. Viktor was at his desk. Maps spread across it. Documents. Photographs. He looked up when I entered. You're late. I'm fashionably late. There's a difference. I sat down across from him without being invited. Dmitri said you had news. He pushed a photograph across the desk. A building. Industrial. Barbed wire fencing. Guards at every visible entrance. Dragunov's compound. East side of the city. We've confirmed he's operating from here. I picked up the photo. Studied it. The compound was a fortress. When do we move? Not yet. He's too fortified. If we attack directly, he'll destroy the ledger before we reach it. We need a distraction. Something big enough to draw his security away from the main building. What kind of distraction? I'm working on it. He paused. There's something else. He slid another photo toward me. This one was different. Grainy. Surveillance footage. A man in a dark coat, face partially obscured, meeting with someone I didn't recognize. We've identified one of Dragunov's inside men. A mole in my organization. He's been feeding Dragunov information for months. Locations. Shipments. Personnel. Who? A junior accountant. Minor position, major access. We have him in custody. He's being questioned. I didn't ask what questioning meant. I didn't want to know. What does this have to do with me? Dragunov will find out we have his mole. When he does, he'll tighten security even further. We have a narrow window. Days maybe. Not weeks. He looked at me. Your training needs to accelerate. It's been one day. I know. But you told me you've been training your whole life. Prove it. I set down the photograph. You want to train me yourself. You're the one who can beat my men. I want to see if you can keep up with me. Is that a challenge? It's an assessment. Same thing. He almost smiled. Tomorrow morning. 5 a.m. The gym. Don't be late. I'm never late. I'm fashionably punctual. That's not a thing. It is now. I just invented it. He stared at me. I stared back. Somewhere in the room I could have sworn the temperature shifted. 5 a.m., he repeated. I'll be there. But I'm bringing coffee. I have coffee. Your coffee is bitter and sad. I'm bringing the good stuff. I stood up and walked toward the door. Paused with my hand on the frame. Hey, Viktor? Yes. Thank you. For finding him. For taking this seriously. He didn't respond right away. Then, Dragunov killed my brother. This was personal long before you arrived. I know. But you could have done this alone. You didn't have to bring me in. You're useful. I'm charming. There's a difference. This time he did smile. Just barely. A crack in the ice. 5 a.m., he said. Bring a mouthguard. You'll need it. I left before he could respond. But I heard him exhale behind me, something that might have been a laugh if Viktor Volkov allowed himself to laugh. I was going to get him to do it for real. Eventually. But first, I had to survive a 5 a.m. training session with the Mafia Alpha. And something told me Viktor Volkov didn't go easy on anyone. I arrived at the gym at 4:58 a.m. Viktor was already there. Of course he was. The man probably slept in his suit. Probably plugged himself into a wall outlet to recharge. Probably considered being early the same as being on time and being on time the same as being late. He was stretching on the mat when I walked in. And for a moment, a brief, unprofessional moment, I forgot how to breathe. He wasn't wearing his suit. He was wearing training clothes. Fitted black shirt. Sweatpants that hung low on his hips. Bare feet. His arms were corded with muscle I'd only guessed at beneath the tailored jackets. A tattoo curled up his left forearm. Something in Russian, letters I couldn't read. He looked up. You're staring. I'm assessing. There's a difference. You're staring. I set my coffee down on the weight rack. Fine. I was staring. You look different without the armor. Less like you're about to attend a funeral. Armor? The suits. They're armor. You wear them like you're expecting a fight. I pulled off my hoodie, leaving me in a fitted tank top. But here you're just Viktor. Something flickered in his eyes. I'm always Viktor. No. Out there you're Mr. Volkov. The Mafia Alpha. The wolf. Here. I stepped onto the mat. Here you're the guy who's about to get thrown on his back. He almost smiled. Confident. Always. It's my most annoying quality. One of many. See? You're learning. We circled each other. The gym was silent except for the faint hum of the ventilation system and the soft sound of our feet on the mat. Outside the sky was still dark. The rest of the estate was asleep. It felt like we were the only two people in the world. Rules? I asked. No rules. Show me what you can do. No rules means I'm not responsible if I embarrass you. No rules means I'm not responsible if you end up on the floor. Promises, promises. He moved first. Faster than I expected for a man his size. He came in low, aiming for my midsection. I sidestepped, caught his arm, tried to use his momentum. But he was ready for it. He twisted out of my grip, spun, and suddenly I was the one off balance. He didn't press the advantage. He stepped back, assessing. Aikido, he said. You've done your homework. I told you. I know what I saw on that footage. He circled left. I mirrored him. Jiu-Jitsu foundation. Muay Thai strikes. You're a hybrid. My grandfather believed in learning everything. A fighter with one style is a fighter with one answer. And how many answers do you have? Enough. I moved this time. Feinted high, went low. Swept for his legs. He jumped back, but I'd anticipated it. Caught his arm on the retreat. Locked it. He broke the lock, raw strength, not technique, and suddenly we were chest to chest. I could feel him breathing. Could smell him. Something clean and sharp. Cedarwood. No cologne. Just him. His skin was warm. His eyes, this close, weren't just gray. They had flecks of blue. Like ice with something trapped underneath. You're stronger than you look, he said. His voice was lower now. Quieter. You're slower than you think. I was going easy on you. So was I. Neither of us moved. The hold had dissolved into something else. His hand on my wrist. My shoulder against his chest. We were still touching. Still breathing the same air. Then he stepped back. Cleared his throat. Again, he said. We trained for 2 hours. By the end, I was drenched in sweat. So was he. His shirt clung to his back in a way that was deeply unfair. I'd landed 3 solid throws. He'd pinned me twice. We were evenly matched, which infuriated us both for different reasons. You're good, he admitted, toweling off his face. I know. Humility would be a good addition to your skill set. Humility is for people who aren't as good as me. He shook his head. But his mouth was doing that thing again. The almost smile. You should shower, he said. You smell like sweat. So do you. I smell like hard work. There's a difference. Did you just make a joke? Viktor Volkov. Was that humor? He threw the towel at me. I caught it, laughing. Breakfast happened the way it had the day before. Me in the kitchen. Viktor at the table. This time I made pancakes. His kitchen staff had stocked the refrigerator after my complaints. There were eggs now. Actual eggs. A small victory. You're domestic, Viktor observed, watching me flip a pancake. I'm hungry. There's a difference. You cook. You clean. You train my men. You talk to my staff. They like you, by the way. The kitchen staff. They said you complimented their soup. It was good soup. They deserve the compliment. You're not what I expected. You've said that before. I slid a plate of pancakes toward him. What did you expect? Someone scared? Someone who'd fold the moment you raised your voice. Someone who'd be easier to ignore. The words hung in the air. I turned from the stove to look at him. Ignore? He was staring at his plate. Not eating. His jaw was tight. You're distracting, he said. I knew you would be useful. I didn't expect you to be. He trailed off. To be what? He looked up at me. His eyes did something complicated. Something that made my stomach flip. Present, he said finally. You're very present. In every room. I notice when you're in it. I notice when you're not. I didn't know what to say. The pancake in the pan was burning. I didn't care. Is that a problem? I don't know yet. He picked up his fork. Eat your pancakes. They're your pancakes. I made them for you. Then sit down and eat with me. I sat. We ate in silence. But it wasn't the cold silence from before. It was something heavier. Charged. The air before a storm. After breakfast, as I was leaving, he called my name. Asher. I turned. Yeah. He was still at the table. Still holding his coffee cup. Looking at me like I was a puzzle he hadn't solved. Tomorrow. Same time. 5 a.m. Wouldn't miss it. I walked out. And I swear I felt his eyes on my back the whole way. 5 a.m. came faster than it should have. I was already on the mat when Viktor walked in. I decided to beat him there today. Small victory. Petty but satisfying. Like getting the last word in an argument or finding money in a pocket you forgot about. He was wearing a different training shirt today. Dark gray. Sleeveless. Because apparently the universe wanted me to suffer. You're early, he said. Fashionably early. I invented a new thing. You said fashionably punctual yesterday. That was yesterday. I've evolved. He shook his head and stepped onto the mat. We didn't bother with warm-ups anymore. We just started. Circling. Watching. The way we always did now. I'd learned his tells, the slight shift in his right foot before he lunged, the way his jaw tightened when he was about to feint. He'd learned mine too. The way I rolled my shoulders before striking, the way I tilted my head when I was planning something sneaky. We were evenly matched. It was annoying. It was also the most fun I'd had in years. Ready? He asked. Born ready. Trained ready. Whatever it's called. He moved. Fast. Always fast. I blocked, countered, spun out of his grip. He caught my wrist, pulled me back. I used the momentum to flip him, or try to. He anticipated it. Planted his feet. We ended up grappling, neither of us willing to give ground. That's when I noticed. His shirt had ridden up. Just slightly. Just enough. There was a sliver of skin above his waistband. And his chest, I'd noticed it before, obviously I had eyes, but this close, this warm, this early in the morning with sweat starting to glisten on his collarbone, that would make a really good pillow. The thought arrived uninvited. Completely unbidden. Like a stranger walking into a room and sitting down like they owned the place. I imagined laying my head there. Just for a second. Would it be firm? Soft? Both? It looked like both. It looked like the kind of chest you could fall asleep on and wake up 3 hours later with a blanket draped over you. Asher. His voice cut through my brain like a knife. Asher. I blinked. He was staring at me. Still holding my wrist. Still breathing hard from the grappling. His face was inches from mine. What? I said. Too fast. Too loud. What? I'm here. I'm present. I'm focused. Very focused. You stopped moving. I was strategizing. For 10 seconds? Good strategy takes time. His eyes narrowed. He hadn't let go of my wrist. His grip was warm. Solid. I was suddenly very aware of every point of contact between us. His hand on my skin. Our chests almost touching. The way his breath stirred the hair near my temple. You're flushed, he said. I'm exercising. People get flushed when they exercise. It's biology. Look it up. Your pulse is elevated. You're holding my wrist. Of course you can feel my pulse. That's how wrists work. He didn't respond. Just kept looking at me with those winter gray eyes. Like he was reading something I hadn't meant to write. Let go, I said. I need water. He let go. Slowly. Deliberately. Like he was setting down something fragile. I walked to my water bottle. Didn't look back. My face was on fire. We finished the session without incident. No more grappling. No more close contact. I kept my distance. Professional. Focused. Totally normal. At the end, Viktor toweled off and headed for the door. Same time tomorrow, he said. Wouldn't miss it. He paused at the doorway. Looked back at me. His expression was unreadable. Asher. Yeah. You were staring at my chest. I opened my mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. I was looking at your form. Your stance. You drop your left shoulder when you're tired. It's a weakness. I was analyzing. You were analyzing my chest. I was analyzing your shoulder. Your chest was just in the way. In the way. It's a very present chest. It's hard to miss. That's not my fault. He didn't smile. But his eyes did something. Something warm. Something that made my stomach flip violently. Good night, Asher. It's 5 in the morning. Good night anyway. He left. I stood alone in the empty gym. Sweaty. Humiliated. Heart pounding for reasons that had nothing to do with exercise. You're crazy, I muttered to myself. You're actually insane. A pillow? Really? You thought about his chest as a pillow. What is wrong with you? The gym offered no answers. I grabbed my hoodie and left, still muttering under my breath the whole way to my room. I couldn't sleep. It was past midnight. I'd been lying in bed for 2 hours, staring at the ceiling, replaying the morning's training session in my head like a movie I couldn't turn off. Viktor's chest. Viktor's voice calling my name. Viktor's eyes doing that thing where they weren't cold at all, just careful. Like he was holding something back. You were staring at my chest. I groaned and pressed my palms into my eyes. Get a grip, Asher. He's a Mafia Alpha. You're a delivery rider who beats people up for a living. This is not a romance novel. My phone buzzed. A text from Dmitri. Mr. Volkov wants you in his office. Now, I looked at the time. 12:47 a.m. This couldn't be good. Viktor's office was dimly lit. Just the desk lamp and the glow of his computer screen. He was standing by the window when I walked in, his back to me, one hand braced against the frame. He'd changed out of his suit. Black sweater. Dark pants. bare feet. He looked almost human, almost reachable. You summoned me, I said, closing the door behind me. It's almost 1 a.m. This better be important. The mole talked. I straightened. And? He confirmed what we suspected. Dragunov knows someone's looking for him. He doesn't know who, but he's paranoid. Tightening security. Moving locations. Viktor turned to face me. His jaw was tight. We have 3 days. Maybe less. After that, he goes underground and we lose him. Then we move now. It's not that simple. His compound is fortified. If we attack directly, he destroys the ledger before we reach it. We need a distraction. Something large enough to pull his security away from the main building. Like what? A warehouse on the east side. His primary weapons storage. We blow it up, most of his men will respond to the fire. That gives us a window to enter the compound. Find the office. Find the safe. And the ledger. And the ledger. I nodded. When do we go? Viktor didn't answer immediately. He walked toward his desk, opened a drawer and pulled out a folder. Satellite images. Building layouts. Guard rotations. Detailed. Precise. He'd been working on this for hours. Days. Maybe longer. Viktor, I said. When do we go? Tomorrow night. Then what's the problem? You look like someone died. He flinched. Barely. But I caught it. The slight tightening around his eyes. No one has died, he said. I'm trying to keep it that way. I can handle myself. I know you can. I've seen you. He set the folder down. That's not what concerns me. Then what does? He looked at me. The dim light carved shadows across his face made him look older, younger, both at once. You, he said. You concern me. The way you walk into danger like it's a joke. The way you treat this like it's just another fight. Dragunov isn't Boris. He's not Alexei. He'll kill you, Asher. He'll kill you and he won't hesitate. Then I won't hesitate either. Have you ever killed anyone? The question landed like a punch. No, I said quietly. Then you don't know if you can. And if you hesitate even for a second, he'll use it. Viktor stepped closer. I've killed people. I know what it costs. I know what it takes. I'm not sure you do. I'm not afraid of him. I know. That's what terrifies me. The room went very still. The words hung between us like something fragile. Viktor Volkov, the Mafia Alpha who made senators cry and rivals disappear. Terrified. Of losing me. Viktor, I said. Are you saying you care about me? Yes. The word came out fast. Immediate. Like he'd been holding it in for days and couldn't anymore. I care about you, he repeated. I didn't want to. I didn't plan to. You were supposed to be useful. A tool. Train my men. Help me take down Dragunov. That was the deal. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so human it made my chest ache. You weren't supposed to make pancakes. You weren't supposed to make Dmitri almost smile. You weren't supposed to be in my head every minute of every day. You didn't plan for me. I didn't plan for you. I stepped closer. Close enough to see the tension in his shoulders. Close enough to notice his hands were trembling. Slightly. Almost imperceptibly. Viktor Volkov, who had faced down rivals and bullets in 10 years of war, was shaking. I'm standing right here, I said. I'm not going anywhere. Asher. And I don't care if you didn't plan for me. I didn't plan for you either. You're cold and you're scary and your coffee is terrible. You live in a house that looks like a vampire's aesthetic Pinterest board. You haven't laughed in 4 years and I've made it my personal mission to break that streak. I poked his chest. You're a mess. But you're my mess now. So stop trying to push me away. He caught my wrist. Not hard. Just held it. His fingers wrapped around my pulse point. He could probably feel my heart hammering. I didn't care. Let him feel it. Let him know what he did to me. Your pulse is elevated, he said. Biology. We've been over this. It was elevated this morning too. I was exercising. You were staring at my chest. Your chest was in the way. It's been in the way every morning this week. Then wear bigger shirts. This isn't my fault. Asher. What? Stop talking. I opened my mouth to argue. Nothing came out. Because Viktor's hand had moved from my wrist to my jaw, cupping my face like I was something valuable. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. His eyes searched mine. Is this okay? He asked. I couldn't speak, so I nodded. He kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't soft. It was desperate. Like he'd been starving for something and hadn't known until this exact moment. His other hand found my waist, pulled me closer. I grabbed his sweater, fisting the fabric, pulling him down to me. He tasted like whiskey and something darker. Something I wanted more of. We broke apart, breathing hard. "Took you long enough," I whispered. His forehead pressed against mine. His eyes were still closed. I was trying to be professional. Professional is boring. Professional doesn't kiss like that. Professional doesn't kiss at all. Exactly my point. He opened his eyes. This close I could see every fleck of blue in the gray. Could count his eyelashes if I wanted. Could feel his breath mixing with mine. "Tomorrow night," he said. "We do this, you and me. And when it's over." When it's over? When it's over, I want to stop pretending I don't think about you every second of every day. I smiled. You just admitted that out loud. No takebacks. I don't want to take it back. Good. Because I think about you too. Even when I don't want to. Especially when I don't want to. I pulled back slightly. Now, tell me the plan again. All of it. I want to know exactly what we're walking into. You're walking into a trap. You know that. I know. But I'm walking into it with you. So it's fine. He almost smiled. Almost. It wasn't a full smile. Not yet. But it was closer than anything I'd seen before. And tomorrow night I was going to make sure he survived long enough to give me a real one. The warehouse exploded. I felt the heat from 3 blocks away. A low, rolling boom that shook the windows of the van and lit up the night sky orange. Somewhere in the distance, sirens started wailing. Men shouted. Tires screeched. Phase 1 complete. Dimitri's voice crackled through the earpiece. Guards are moving toward the warehouse. You have a window. 15 minutes. Maybe less. Understood, Viktor said. We were crouched behind a retaining wall at the edge of Adrian's compound. The explosion had done its job. I watched through night vision binoculars as guards poured out of the main building, heading for the vehicles, heading for the fire. The compound was bleeding security. 4 guards remaining at the east entrance, I said. 2 at the gate. 2 patrolling. I see them. Viktor pulled a silencer from his vest. Stay behind me. Absolutely not. I'm not a civilian. I'm your partner. He glanced at me. Even in the dark, even with adrenaline pumping through my veins, I caught the flicker of something in his eyes. Worry. Pride. Both. Partner, he repeated. Don't make it weird. Let's go. We moved. Viktor took the first 2 guards at the gate. Quick. Silent. Precise. I handled the patrol, a sweep to the legs, a choke hold until they went limp. We dragged the bodies behind a storage container and pressed forward. The compound was a maze of concrete hallways and flickering fluorescent lights. Viktor navigated like he'd memorized the blueprints. He probably had. The man probably dreamed in floor plans. Stairs on the left, he murmured. Office is on the 2nd floor. East corner. How many more guards? Unknown. Love that. Love uncertainty. Very comforting. He shot me a look. You're joking. At a time like this. I joke it every time. It's a coping mechanism. Keep moving. We took the stairs 2 at a time. The hallway above was dark. Silent. Too silent. Then we found the office. It was large. Ornate. Adrian had decorated it like he was royalty, velvet curtains, a massive oak desk, a portrait of himself on the wall. Narcissism in interior design form. The safe, I said. Viktor was already moving toward the wall behind the desk. He pushed aside the portrait, revealing a steel door with an electronic keypad. Can you crack it? Give me 60 seconds. I stood watch while he worked. The compound was too quiet now. The distant sirens had faded. The distraction was ending. We were running out of time. Got it? The safe clicked open. And there it was. My grandfather's ledger. Worn leather cover. Yellowed pages. His handwriting looped and careful, filling every margin. I reached for it with shaking hands. Asher. Viktor's voice was sharp. I turned. Adrian Dragunov was standing in the doorway. He looked exactly like his photograph. Sharp features. Cruel smile. The serpent tattoo coiled around his neck, black ink that seemed to move in the dim light. He was holding a gun. Viktor, he said. I was wondering when you'd finally show up. And you brought a guest. He looked at me. Really looked. And then his smile widened. Ah, the grandson. I remember you. You almost had me that night. Almost. My grip tightened on the ledger. You killed my grandfather. I killed a lot of people's grandfathers. You'll have to be more specific. For a book. You killed him for a book. I killed him for power. The book was a bonus. He tilted his head. Do you know how much those names are worth? Your grandfather was a fool. He could have ruled empires with those connections. Instead, he taught children how to punch. He taught children how to defend themselves. There's a difference. Not to me. He raised the gun. Viktor moved. Faster than I'd ever seen him. He tackled Adrian around the waist, sending them both crashing into the hallway. The gun skittered across the floor. Asher, go. Viktor shouted. No. But then more guards appeared. 4 of them. Armed. Viktor was already fighting too, his movements brutal and efficient. The other 2 came for me. I tucked the ledger into my vest. Settled into my stance. All right, I said. Come on then. They came. The fight was a blur. Jiu-jitsu. Muay Thai. Every style my grandfather had ever taught me flowing through muscle memory. I disarmed the first one with a wrist lock. Elbowed the second in the throat. They dropped. More came. Viktor was bleeding from a cut above his eye but still standing, still fighting. And then it was just Adrian. He'd retrieved his gun. But he wasn't aiming at Viktor. He was aiming at me. You're fast, he said. I'll give you that. Your grandfather was fast too. In the end, it didn't save him. Don't talk about him. Why not? He was a great man. Legendary, really. Do you know he offered to train me once? Years ago. Before the war. I refused. Said I preferred more practical skills. He smiled. I wonder if he regretted that. At the end. I moved before I realized I was moving. He fired. The shot went wide. I was already inside his guard, my hand on his wrist, twisting. The gun dropped. He swung. I ducked. We traded blows. He was good. Really good. Better than he'd been 6 months ago. Or maybe I was just remembering him wrong through the haze of grief. But I wasn't grieving now. I was angry. He caught me across the jaw. My vision blurred. I stumbled. He grabbed my vest, pulled me close. Your grandfather begged, he whispered. At the end, he begged for his life. Did you know that? Something inside me snapped. I headbutt him. Art. He reeled back. I swept his legs. He hit the ground and I was on him, knee on his chest, my arm across his throat. Not killing him. Restraining him. He laughed. Blood on his teeth. Do it. Kill me. You know you want to. I did want to. More than I'd ever wanted anything. My hands were shaking with the effort of not pressing down. No, I said. My grandfather taught me that martial arts aren't for vengeance. They're for protection. I leaned closer. You're going to prison. You're going to rot. And everyone you blackmailed, everyone you hurt, they'll know you were beaten by an Omega delivery rider. That's worse than death. For you anyway. His smile flickered. Died. Viktor appeared beside me. Bleeding. Bruised. Alive. The guards are down. Backup is on the way. He looked at me. At Adrian pinned beneath my knee. At the choice I'd made. You didn't kill him. No. Good. Dimitri's voice crackled through the earpiece. Extraction team incoming. 2 minutes. I stood up. Kept my foot on Adrian's chest. Looked down at him. One more thing, I said. My grandfather didn't beg. He never begged for anything in his life. I know that because I knew him. And you? You never did. I stepped back. Viktor's hand found my shoulder. Squeezed once. Let's go home, he said. I clutched the ledger against my chest. Felt my grandfather's presence in every page. Yeah, I said. Let's go home. The estate was quiet when we returned. Dimitri handled the cleanup. Adrian was in custody. The guards were dealt with. The night was over, but my hands were still shaking. Not from fear. From adrenaline. From 6 months of grief finally finding its release. I went to my room. Sat on the edge of the bed. Opened the ledger. My grandfather's handwriting. Look. Careful. Names I recognized. Names I didn't. Notes in the margins. Helped with border dispute. Owes favor. Trained his son in 2008. Good man. Dangerous man. A lifetime of connections. A legacy. I didn't hear Viktor come in. I felt him. The shift in the air. The warmth of his presence. He stood in the doorway, still in his tactical clothes, the cut above his eye cleaned but unbandaged. He looked exhausted. He looked like he'd fought a war and won. You're bleeding, I said. It's not mine. Good. He crossed the room. Didn't ask permission. Didn't need to. He took the ledger from my hands gently and set it on the nightstand. Then he cupped my face and kissed me. This wasn't like the first kiss. That had been desperate. A confession. A question. This was an answer. His mouth moved against mine with intention. His hand slid into my hair, tilting my head back. I grabbed his waist, pulled him closer, felt the hard muscle beneath his shirt. "You scared me tonight," he murmured against my lips. "I scared myself. When you went for Dragunov?" He broke off, pressed his forehead to mine. His breathing was ragged. "I've never been afraid of losing anyone. Not since Mikhail. I didn't let myself. Then you. I'm still here." "I know." He kissed me again. Slower this time. Deeper. "I can't stop thinking about you. The way you move. The way you smell. The way you laugh at me when I'm trying to be serious. It's driving me insane." "Good. You needed shaking up." "I needed you." His mouth moved to my jaw. My neck. I gasped. My hands fisted in his shirt. He smelled like smoke and sweat and something underneath that was just Viktor. That clean, sharp scent I'd noticed the first time we trained together. I'd wanted to drown in it then. I wanted to drown in it now. "You have no idea what you do to me," he said against my skin. "I have some idea." "No, you don't." He pulled back just enough to look at me. His eyes were dark. "Hungry. The first time I saw you on that CCTV footage, I couldn't look away. I watched it 7 times. 7. I told myself it was professional interest. Tactical assessment. I was lying." "You? Lying? Shocking." "Be quiet. Make me." He did. The kiss that followed wasn't gentle. It wasn't sweet. It was months of tension and a near-death experience and 2 people who'd finally stopped pretending. He pushed me back onto the bed. I pulled him with me. The weight of him was solid and warm, and I thought, briefly, deliriously, this is better than any pillow. "What are you smiling about?" he asked. "Nothing. Just thinking about your chest." "My chest. You have a very nice chest. I noticed it during training. Multiple times. I was very subtle about it." "You weren't subtle at all." "I know. That's the joke." He laughed. Actually laughed. A low, surprised sound that vibrated through his chest and into mine. I stared up at him in shock. "Did you just... don't?" "You laughed." "Viktor Volkov." "You laughed." "I do that occasionally." "No, you don't. Dmitri said you haven't laughed in 4 years." The words hung in the air. Viktor's expression flickered. Something vulnerable passed through his eyes. "Dmitri talks too much," he said. "Dmitri cares about you. And you? Do you care about me?" I reached up, touched his face, traced the line of his jaw. "You know I do." "I wanted to hear you say it." "I care about you. Against my better judgment. Despite the fact that you're a crime lord with terrible coffee and a house that looks like Dracula's summer home. I care about you, Viktor Volkov. I'm not going anywhere." He kissed me again. And this time there was nothing held back. We fell asleep tangled together. His arm around my waist. My head on his chest. Finally, after weeks of wondering. It was firm. And soft. And exactly as comfortable as I'd imagined. I woke once during the night. The ledger was still on the nightstand. My grandfather's photograph beside it. For a moment, I imagined him watching this, me in the arms of a Mafia Alpha, safe and warm and happier than I'd been in months. I got it back, I told him silently. "The ledger. Your legacy. And I got something else too. Something I wasn't looking for." Viktor stirred beside me. Pulled me closer. Murmured something in Russian I couldn't understand. I closed my eyes. Tomorrow there would be consequences to deal with. Adrian's empire to dismantle. A dojo to build. But tonight there was just this. Just him. Just us. 3 months later, Kai's dojo opened its doors. The building was a renovated warehouse on the south side of the city. Not too fancy, my grandfather would have hated fancy. But it was clean. Bright. The front windows let in actual sunlight. The sign outside read Kai's dojo in bold black letters, with smaller text underneath, all ages. All levels. All welcome. Inside, the main training floor was covered in blue mats. Mirrors along one wall. A row of heavy bags in the back. My grandfather's photograph hung in the place of honor near the entrance, his black belt displayed beneath it. I'd put him where everyone could see. Where he could watch over every student who walked through the door. The morning started with kids. Tiny children in tiny white GIs. Some of them were nervous, clutching their parents' hands. Some were bouncing off the walls with energy they hadn't learned to control yet. All of them looked at me like I was either a superhero or a very confusing adult. "All right," I said, kneeling down to their level. "My name is Asher. This is my dojo. And today, I'm going to teach you the most important thing my grandfather ever taught me." A little girl in the front row raised her hand. She was maybe 6, with pigtails and a missing front tooth. Is it punching? No. It's not punching. Kicking? Not kicking either. Is it spinning? A boy asked. I saw spinning on TV. No spinning today. I smiled. The most important thing my grandfather taught me is how to fall. They stared at me. Falling? The little girl said. That's not fighting. It is. Because when you know how to fall, you're never scared to try. You know that even if you mess up, even if you get knocked down, you can get back up. I stood and gestured for them to spread out on the mats. So today we're going to practice falling. And tomorrow we'll learn how to stay standing. The girl considered this, then nodded, satisfied. Okay, but I still want to learn punching. We'll get to punching. I promise. Viktor arrived halfway through the class. I didn't notice him at first. I was too busy teaching a small boy named Marcus how to tuck his chin when he fell backward. But I felt him. The way I always felt him now, a shift in the air, a warmth at the edge of my awareness. He stood in the back, arms crossed, wearing one of his usual dark suits. Dmitri was beside him, holding 2 cups of coffee. Boris and Alexei had come too, still in their training clothes from the estate. They'd become my assistant instructors. Boris had stopped flinching when I made eye contact. Mostly. The little girl with pigtails noticed Viktor before anyone else. She tugged my sleeve mid-lesson. Sensei Asher? Yes. Who's the scary man in the back? I looked up. Viktor looked back at me. His expression was unreadable, but I'd learned to read it anyway. The slight tension in his jaw. The way his eyes softened just around the edges. He was trying not to smile. That's not a scary man, I said. That's my boyfriend. Your boyfriend? Yes. He looks like a vampire. I snorted. I've told him that. He disagrees. She studied Viktor for another moment. Then shrugged and returned to practicing her falls. After the kids' class ended and the parents collected their children, the adults filtered in. The afternoon was a blur of instruction. Stances, strikes, the fundamentals my grandfather had drilled into me since I could walk. Alexei led warm-ups. Boris demonstrated takedowns. I moved through the room, adjusting postures, offering encouragement. By evening I was exhausted. The good kind of exhausted. The kind that came from building something that mattered. The last student left at 7. Dmitri and the others filtered out shortly after, leaving just me and Viktor in the quiet dojo. He was still standing in the back. He'd been there for hours. Watching. You stayed the whole day, I said. I had nowhere else to be. You're the head of a criminal empire. You definitely had somewhere else to be. I delegated. He walked toward me, his footsteps soft on the blue mats. I wanted to see this. Here. I gestured at the empty dojo. Well, this is it. Kai's dojo. Named after my grandfather. Funded by a Mafia Alpha. Currently teaching children how to fall without breaking their faces. It's perfect. It's a start. He stopped in front of me. Close enough that I could smell him. Clean soap, cedar, something warm underneath. I still hadn't gotten used to it. I didn't think I ever would. The little girl, he said. She called me a vampire. She called you scary first. The vampire thing was a bonus. She asked if I was your boyfriend. I told her yes. Did you? Was I wrong? He didn't answer with words. He pulled me close, one hand on my waist, the other cupping my jaw. He kissed me slowly, thoroughly, like we had all the time in the world. You're not wrong, he murmured against my lips. Good. Because I already told Boris. And Alexei. And the kitchen staff. It's common knowledge at this point. I know. The kitchen staff gave me a congratulatory cake. That was my idea. I assumed. I leaned back, looking up at him. His eyes were the same winter gray they'd always been. But the coldness was gone. Or maybe it had never been coldness. Maybe it had always been walls. And maybe those walls had finally come down. You did it, he said. The dojo. Everything you wanted. Everything I wanted included you. I poked his chest. The chest I'd once zoned out staring at. The chest I now fell asleep on regularly. So you don't get to stand there being proud of me like you weren't part of it. I am proud of you. I know. And I'm proud of this. What you built. I looked around the dojo. The blue mats. The mirrors. My grandfather's photograph on the wall, his black belt gleaming beneath it. The sign outside that bore his name. He would have liked this, I said quietly. The kids especially. He always said martial arts were wasted on adults. Adults have too much ego. Kids just want to learn. He would have liked you. The way you turned out. I smiled. You never met him. I don't need to. He raised you. That tells me enough. I didn't cry. I came close. But I didn't cry. Come on, I said, pulling away before I got emotional. Help me close up. I'll make you dinner. The kitchen staff restocked the eggs. I noticed. I'll make pancakes. You always make pancakes. Because you love them. You ate 7 last time. I didn't eat 7. 6.5. The last one was small. It barely counted. He almost smiled. Then he did smile. The real one. The one I'd been chasing since the day we met. Fine, he said. Pancakes. We walked through the dojo together, turning off lights, closing windows. At the door, I paused and looked back at my grandfather's photograph. We did it, I thought. The ledger is safe. The dojo is open. I'm happy. Really happy. I hope you'd be proud. Viktor's hand found mine in the dark. Ready? He asked. Yeah. I squeezed his hand. Let's go home. Hi bestie, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe and tell me your favorite moment in the comments. I'll see you in the next story. Bye for now.